Hello everyone and welcome back to another Satisfactory video. In today's video we'll be doing a comparison between two ways of getting around in Satisfactory. So what is those two ways we're comparing today? Well, it's both to do with flying. So we've got the hover pack and we've got the jetpack. Now both of these allow you to float around. Now normally when you're running around you can slide like this using C, or you can just shift to run a bit faster, or you can jump, and there is other ways of running around in the game that makes it faster, but the two we're looking at today has got to do with flight. And which one is better? Now, that is a question I've actually had a few times, is which one of these two is the better option to fly around with? And my answer is always the same. They're both good, and they both have their uses, and both have their actual place in your inventory. So let's get to it. Now, first off, let's start with the jetpack. The jetpack was the first one to be introduced. Now, once you equip the jetpack, you'll notice that right here on the left hand side, it's got 178 fuel. Now, that is taken from our inventory slot. So we currently have 178 fuel in our slot. Now, that is the only fuel that you can actually use with this. If you hover over it, it will tell you exactly how much it uses, but you can't use something like leaves or biofuel or something else to actually fuel this. Now, once it's loaded, you'll notice that, let's start off with it. If I hit the space bar, I go up, 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 and then you see it's actually starting to, it gives me a warning. Now, I don't want to die in this one, but once you run out, so let's just hover here in front. We'll actually keep low so we don't take any damage. So the one thing about the jetpack is, as long as you've got fuel, you can go places. Now you'll notice that this is not that fast, and we'll get to that in a bit, but there we go, we've run out and now it has to refuel again. So the jetpack uses jet fuel to get around, so you can actually go anywhere as long as you've got fuel. And that is the major difference between the jetpack and the hoverpack. The hoverpack, let's equip that one now. The hoverpack uses electricity. Now, as you can see on the left hand bottom side, now let's just look at that. You'll see that it's got 1 bar. Now let's go 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bar, 4 bar, and it should be full right now because I am pretty much right next to a power source. So let's just take off, and you'll notice that I now just hit space and I'm floating, and I'm actually zipping around pretty fast, but I am floating above everything at the moment. Now that is the difference, is I can actually shift and go a bit faster. So the hoverpack, there you can see, let's just get out of range again. As soon as I get into range of this, there we go, did you guys see that? It takes wherever there's a power node, be it on a factory itself, which would be that node over there or that node over there. It takes power from that to keep this hover pack going. So I can hover up and above, and you can see I can actually only go so far, and then I run out of, I can't go higher. So this is basically the highest that you can go with the hover pack, because now let's just get out of range. And I should be out of range soon. Okay, there is a safety feature built in, and that's actually what I'm showing there. So with the normal jetpack, as soon as you run out of fuel, that's it, you're done for. You're gonna have a rough landing. With the hover pack, as soon as you get out of range, it will try and re-establish range. So I can go up, and as soon as I lose range, as soon as I get back into range again, I will start hovering again. But there's this nifty little trick that as soon as I get out of range, I can just hold spacebar and float slowly down without taking damage. That's one major difference between the jetpack and the hoverpack, is when you get out of range with the jetpack, you kind of get quite a bit of damage. So You need power for the hover pack, and you need jet fuel for that. Now, there is another thing that also works. Now, as you can see, I've actually gotten power from this pot here. I'm actually getting from the station. But as I'm going out into the middle of nowhere, you'll notice that I still have power and I'm still hovering. So railways they carry power, and you can get power from the railway and float over it. So if you've got a railway line that is connected to a station that's got power, you will be able to float from one side to another side without ever being in reach of an actual station. So you will actually get that. Now, just to show you, here I'm going over a rail that isn't connected to anything, and there we go. I did not even use the little extra security. So that is the difference. You need power for the hoverpack to work, and you can see the hoverpack is actually pretty speedy. But now here comes the question, why is the hoverpack and the jetpack both equal? Now let's just sit on here and look. Now the hoverpack has a limit in speed, so it's really well balanced that you can zip around, and it is very helpful when you're building stuff. So if I'm doing a video or I want to do something, I can actually just hover around and I can do whatever I need to. Where with the other thing, with the jetpack, I'm pretty much stuck that I can't do that. So with let's hover over, and now let's say I want to start building something. I can do this, and I can build whatever I want, wherever I want, and I've got quite a bit of a reach. So it is nice for hovering and building within your factory and having a nice overlook. And it is speedy-ish when you're running around, but when you're exploring, the jetpack really comes into its own. So I'm going to do something where with the jetpack, there's a slight little trick that really works very well. So with the hoverpack, let's just jump on this. Now you can see I've gone fast. There we go. I'm back to slow speed. So if I'm now running around the factory and I want to get from this side to that side, it is pretty slow. Now let's go back, and this time let's equip the jetpack. By the way, you can do that in the air and it would be fine. So now same thing, I've got my jetpack on. I'm going to jump on this MK5, shift, sprint, run, and that's it. So that is one very useful way of using the jetpack, and one of the reasons why I really love the jetpack is it allows you to get to places. Now if I wanted to get to that spot there with the hovercraft, with the hoverpack, I could, and I could basically just select the hoverpack. I could go hover over this area here, and I could try and build something on that side. So I could build a power source and go and build myself a bridge over there, where if I switch to the hoverback, the heights that I can get with the hoverback with the jetpack is actually pretty low. You can actually see there is the max, and I've run out, and I take damage falling down. So for general building and for general work around your factory, the hoverpack is by far the more superior thing to use, and most of the time that is the thing that I actually use, is the hoverpack to get around. But when doing runs where I have to travel quite a bit of distance and there is no power in between, doing this, jumping on a conveyor belt and then quickly just tap like this, I can cover a bigger area than I could with the hoverpack. So I keep both in my inventory. Overall, I most use the hoverpack to get around, because the hoverpack while building or looking at your factory is really useful. I mean, look at this. I can now go all the way up, and I can sit here and I can hover, and I can plan out my factory in whatever way I want. But for exploration, the jetpack still beats it because of the speed, and using the MK5, especially when you've got this, you basically unlocked MK5. So once you've unlocked the MK5 conveyor belt, basically carry that around and you've got an instant boost where you can fly around quite simply, and you can get anywhere by just running, jumping off it. And look at the speed which I've now got covering this whole area. Like I said, you can interchange that if you're fast enough. No, I was too slow. You can interchange that and basically use both. So even if when you're using your hover pack and you get into a tight situation, you can always switch to your hover pack and just get yourself to safety if needed. But yeah, guys, that is the two flying modes that we've got in the game. I think both are really well balanced. I think the jetpack now feels a bit less useful since the hoverpack is so useful and so powerful. I think they've balanced it quite a bit, but yeah, at the moment the hoverpack is the better of the two to use, but both have their uses. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this, hit that like button. If you want to see more of this, hit the subscribe. Until next time, this has been Zombie Vega. Bye.